Welcome back to the class of Human Resource Management, friends. So today's topic of discussion is placement, after that induction, internal mobility and separations. So in the previous session, we have discussed about selection. So selection is a process wherein you try to identify and recruit a new employee to the specific job position in the organization. So once that employee is selected and he reports to the organization, he will be actually placed in a specific job. So that is what is placement here. So placement is, as defined, is the actual posting of an employee to a specific job with the rank as well as the responsibilities attached to it. So placement can also be treated as a probationary period in some organizations. So here, many organizations puts new recruits on probation for a certain period of time, wherein their services after that will be confirmed. So placement, however, should be made with as little disruption to the employee and organization as possible. So the main benefits of placing the employee in the organization in a probationary period is he can get certain time to train himself on the job and try to show good results on the job. He will start understanding the people around him in the organization and helps him to get along with the people very easily. At the same time, because it's a probationary period, of course, he will be very regular to his duty. He will be reporting very regularly to his duty. And also, this will keep him in high spirits. He has an opportunity to make mistakes, but he should learn from his mistakes and try to avoid during this probationary period. So once this placement period or probationary period is completed, the company should also, in this process of probationary period, the company also should induct or orient that employee to the organization as well as his job. So what is this induction and orientation program? It is a process wherein a new employee is introduced to the job as well as the organizational environment. So this induction will help to remove whatever fears are there in the minds of that newcomer. And also a good impression is created about the organization in the minds of the newcomer. So a simple format of conducting an induction program, this may not be the same for all the companies, but this is a guideline, I can say, wherein an induction program can be conducted. So initially, you welcome that newcomer to the organization and you try to introduce him to the employees whom he'll be working with. Then you will be explaining about the company and show him or her all the facilities of the company. After that, show the location where exactly the new employee is going to sit or work. Then a company manual has to be provided so that he can understand how the company works, how he is supposed to report in the organization. Then offer details about the various work groups in the organization. He should just not be familiar with his own department or group. He should also understand the organization better. So for that reason, you should also provide him the details about different departments and work groups in the organization so that he can feel that sense of belongingness to the organization. Provide details about the policies, rules and regulations, benefits he gets, salaries aspects, the incentives, all this information has to be provided to him prior in this induction program. He should also be explained with the job of career opportunities or career ladder he is going to have in future in case if he performs good in the organization. You should also give him an opportunity to clarify his doubts at the end of the induction program. And lastly, assign that newcomer to a supervisor for an initial few days or months so that he is under observation in terms of his performance at the job which he is being placed. So here are certain Indian snapshots of certain companies where induction program is conducted very thoroughly. So in Aptech, in Maruti Udyog, Standard Chartered Bank, Citibank, KPMG, Sony India, Indian Shaving Products. So these are some companies where induction training is given high importance, because they say that if the employee becomes more familiar at the initial stages where he has joined the company, then his performance is going to increase. Then coming to internal mobility. So there are two types of mobilities available here: lateral or vertical movement of an employee in the organization. What is this internal mobility? Internal mobility is something related to more of transfers or shifting from one job to another. So this job shifting or mobility, as we call, it basically happens in two levels. One is vertical, that is upward or downward level, or lateral level, that is sideways. So here you may be shifted from HR department to finance department. That becomes a lateral movement. If you are promoted as from an HR executive to an assistant HR manager, it becomes a vertical, upward vertical movement. So what is the purpose of this internal mobility? It helps to improve the effectiveness in the organization. It also helps to increase the employee effectiveness, because for a long period of time, if the employee is in the same position, in the same place, working in the organization, he may end up with boredom. So for that reason, a change in the job or the nature of job will help him to regain his motivation levels and try to perform better and take up the challenges of the new job. It also ensures discipline, because as I told you, vertical movement has also downward movement. In case the employee is not performing well, to discipline him or his performance, you can also demote him in the organization. So that's a downward vertical movement you can find. So these are some varieties of internal mobilities in the organizations you can see. So transfers are the same like internal mobility, but here you may be shifted from one place to another, or one job totally to the another. So transfer is a change in job assignment totally here. It may involve a promotion or a demotion, or no change at all in the status and responsibility. Let us say a bank employee or a bank branch manager is working in Dharwad SBI branch. He will be transferred to Hubli SBI branch. So that is what is transfer. So the main purpose of transfer is to meet the requirements of the organization, to satisfy the needs of the employee, to utilize the employees better. In case if extra employees are working in a particular department or a place, you can shift them and use them in other places where they are needed. To make the employee more versatile, to adjust the workforce, to provide relief to the overburdened employees, to reduce conflicts, and to punish the employees. So these are some purposes for which transfers can be conducted in the organization. So what are the benefits of these transfers? It helps to improve the employee skills. It helps to reduce monotony and boredom. It is kind of a remedy for faulty placement decisions. It prepares the employee for challenging assignments in future. It stabilizes the changing working environments in different departments or locations. It improves the employee satisfaction and morale, improve the employee and employer relation. It is also associated with some problems, because it creates inconvenience to the employees who otherwise do not want to move. Employees may or may not fit in the new location or the department. Shifting of experienced hands may affect the productivity of the organization, because they may lose those experienced hands. Discriminatory transfers may affect the employee morale. So these are some problems associated with transfers. Then promotions. Promotion is wherein you give an opportunity to the employee to move to a higher position in the organization. With a higher pay, higher responsibility, you are being promoted in the organization to the higher job level. What are the bases of promotion? There are two bases here. One is merit based and seniority based. If you go for corporate sector, it is do or die, where it is purely on merit based promotion. But whereas if you look into government organization, most of the promotions happen on seniority basis. The promotion policy has to be very fair. An organization should institute a promotion policy that gives due weightage to both seniority as well as merit. The promotion opportunities must be thrown to open to all the employees so that no employee is left without an opportunity. The norms for promotion should be expressed in writing. Detailed records must be maintained for this purpose. As a responsible official should be asked to take the final decision regarding which employee has to be promoted and not promoted. Demotion is another way of internal mobility here. That is, you are shifting the employee from a higher position to the lower position, and you may also decrease his pay as well as the responsibility in the organization. It is like a punishment for an employee who is indisciplined or who is not performing the job requirements. So the causes of demotion are he or she may be unable to meet the job requirements. The organization is forced to demote the employees because of adverse business conditions also in certain times. Demotions may also happen due to keep a check on errant employees. A clear policy regarding demotions should be designed so that the employees don't have any chance of giving excuses. Punishable offenses must be also listed in advance so that in future the employees may not go to court of law. Employee separations. There are varieties of methods wherein employees get separated with the organization. It may be by resignation, it may be by retirement, it may be by death or layoff. So what are these different varieties of employee separations? So a resignation is something wherein an employee wants to voluntarily separate himself from the organization. The reason may be many. He don't want to work in that organization anymore, or he may have got a better job opportunity somewhere, or he may not work at all due to certain personal reasons. So he may resign for the job. It's a kind of a voluntary separation initiated by the employee himself. Then retirement. There are certain age limits for every jobs in the organizations. It's called as also superannuation, where termination of the services happen based on reaching a age of superannuation. This is called as retirement. To avoid problems, organizations normally plan replacements to retirement employees beforehand itself so that responsibilities can be taken up by the next employee coming in that job or the position. So death. Some employees, due to certain reasons, may die in service. So it may be due to an accident, it may be due to some health issues, it may be, there are many reasons for which death may occur. So death is caused by occupational hazards or many other reasons. So the normal separation of people from an organization due to resignation, retirement or death is known as attrition here. So layoff is something where an employee is thrown out of the organization for certain reasons. Those reasons may be business reasons, where business is not running properly. It may be in losses, or it may also be due to economic reasons. The country may not be economically performing. So for that reason, businesses are failing or businesses are suffering, and the organization is unable to take the burden of paying the employees. So for that reason, layoff is one more way of separating the employee from the organizations. So these are certain do's and don'ts of laying off the employees. You should always give warning as advance as possible whenever you are laying off the employees. You should sit one-to-one basis and discuss the layoff process with the employees whom you are laying off. Complete the firing session quickly as much as possible. Prepare the employee who is being asked to leave to cope up with his emotions. offer written explanations of severance benefits, provide outplacement assistance away from the company headquarters, be sure the employee learns about the layoff from the manager and not the colleague. Don't leave the room creating a confusion. Don't allow time for debate. Don't make any personal comments. Don't rush the employees off site unless security is really an issue. Don't fire people on important dates like birthdays or anniversaries. Don't fire the employees when they are on vacation or have just returned. So these are some do's and don'ts of laying off the employees. So there's another way of employees being separated from the organization, that is retrenchment. Retrenchment is a personal permanent layoff for reasons other than punishment, not retirement or termination, owing to ill health is called retrenchment. Legally speaking, employers in India are required to give advance notice or pay equivalent wages before actually layoff date. Outplacement is something which is a kind of assistance, includes efforts made by the employer to help a recently separated employee to find a job. Apart from training support to such employees, some organizations offer assistance in the form of paid leave travel charges for attending interviews or search firm expenses, etc. Suspension is another way of separating the employees, that is, by prohibiting an employee from attending the work and performing normal duties assigned to him. Discharge and dismissal. The termination of services of an employee as punitive measure of misconduct is called dismissal. And discharge also means terminations of services of an employee, but not necessarily as punishment. A discharge does not arise from single irritational act such as alcoholism, willful violation of rules, insubordination, carelessness, dishonesty, inefficiency, violent acts, unauthorized absence for a long time. So these are varieties of ways where employees get separated from the organization. For any doubts and clarifications, you can always be in touch with me on my email as well as my phone. Thank you, friends.